And Utah fans. Good evening and welcome into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show. Great to have you in tonight. Our show is always brought to you by Smith's Low Prices and Market Fresh, coming to you live from the Eccles Football Facility here on campus. It is the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show presented by Smith's. Over the next hour, we're going to talk Utah football. We'll recap last weekend. We'll pass out some awards. We'll look ahead to the Oregon Ducks coming up this weekend. And, of course, as always, if you'd like to interact with the show, we will welcome your texts and your telephone call, your telephone texts and tweets tonight. You can reach the program by texting 877-353-0700. That's 877-353-0700. Or hitting us up on Twitter at ESPN700. Bill, this weekend is the Oregon Ducks. Utah plays them at 3:30 at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Mountain Time. Utah 1-4 against the Ducks since they've joined the Pac-12. 9-22 overall. And losers a year ago in Eugene. They want to turn all that around coming up on Saturday. And they'll try to do it at 3:30 in the sun. We're joined by head coach Kyle Whittingham. And before we talk about the Ducks, how was your day?
Good day. It was great to get back on the field and get back to work. And had a very good practice. And these guys have a great attitude. It was obviously a disappointment this weekend, but you got to put it behind you and move on. And now it's all about Oregon.
Well, when you went back and looked at the tape, what happened? Because that looked completely different from the team we had seen the last month.
Right. It was really. Defensively, we didn't play nearly up to our capabilities, and give Arizona State credit. They had a nice plan going in, but nothing that was out of the ordinary. I mean, it was just us not controlling the line of scrimmage like we usually do. That was the biggest key in the game.
Well, you didn't control the line of scrimmage, and then you had some weird bounces. That touchdown that wasn't early in the game that hit off Jalen Dixon's chest and into the waiting arms of the defender. And then, of course, you had the end of the half interception that turned into a touchdown for them. And you know how it goes in this game, Kyle. When you don't take advantage of those opportunities, sometimes it comes back to bite you.
Exactly. There were some plays there to be made, and we didn't make them. And it was, 21-20 going into the fourth quarter. And,
yep.
And then N'Keal Harry makes that big play, and we just never really got anything going in the fourth quarter, and that was the biggest difference in the game. As far as the time period was that fourth quarter. It was very disappointing.
Well, obviously the change was Tyler getting hurt, but
right.
Jason led you down on that field goal drive, and then it just didn't seem like you ever found any traction offensively. Was that because they were loading up against you, or you just couldn't find it?
Just couldn't find it. It was Jason was doing a good job. Moment didn't seem too big for him, and he was prepared, but we just didn't do a good job. It was something that we just wasn't our day.
What can you tell us about Tyler now, where he is, how he's feeling? Have you talked to him much this week? Where's Tyler? Give the fans an update on how he's doing and what's next for him.
Yeah, well, the good news is he's going to be fine. It's not something that's going to be long-term or problems down the road. It should heal up nicely, and he'll be back with us 6 to 8 weeks. So depending on the timing of the bowl game, may see him in the bowl game. We'll see what happens, but he's in good spirits. Obviously disappointed that he didn't make it through the season, but he's a competitive kid, and he'll be back.
How much can he help Jason Shelley?
Oh, a bunch. Yeah, a bunch. He can be a great mentor for Jason, and he's not back with us yet. He's still recovering, but he'll be able to get back in the office and back around us towards the end of this week, hopefully, and spend some time with Jason.
You've got a mantra in this program. It's next man up. You've said it before about other teams. Nobody cries and nobody feels sorry for you when you get hurt, even when it's your quarterback.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about Jason Shelley. Give the fans a little background on Jason, who he is, what he is, and why you guys brought him to your program.
Okay, we'll recruit him out of Frisco, Texas. He was a tremendous high school quarterback and put up great numbers and in a scheme that's very similar to what we're doing, a spread attack. The thing that really caught my eye early is just how even-keeled he is and how nothing phases him. He doesn't press. He doesn't try to do too much. He just lets the game come to him and makes good decisions, made great decisions in high school. This will obviously be his first extensive playing time in college, but he's a guy that has got those intangibles you look for in a quarterback. He's got leadership. He's got that it factor where guys rally around him, and we're confident in him. We're very confident.
He's a competitor, and what people also probably may not know is He was the captain of his football team.
Right.
He was the captain of his basketball team, the captain of his baseball team. He was an all-state and all-district kid in the state of Texas in all three of those sports. So he's a competitor, isn't he?
He is. And, he's not the tallest guy. He's a 6-footer. But he has a great knack of finding throwing windows, which is key for those undersized quarterbacks. They have to be able to do that. And some of those undersized quarterbacks can find windows better than the 6'5" guys. And so it's just a matter of finding those passing lanes.
That's what I always say. Those guys, it's not as if they were once 6'5" and now they're 5'11" or 6 feet tall. They've been that way their whole life. And so you made mention of a guy named Drew Brees, also a Texas kid, and came out of the Austin, Texas area, not a real big guy. And he found ways to win and found ways to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't making any comparison with Jason and Drew, but just Drew's stature, and he's 5'11" and a half, and has had an amazing career doing just that, finding those throwing lanes and those windows to throw through.
So this is not your first rodeo. You have had starters go down before. I can remember when Brian Johnson went down before the BYU game, and a guy named Brett Ratliff stepped in. We didn't know who Brett was. And I can remember when Jordan Wynn went down one of his many times, and a guy named John Hayes stepped in on a week's notice. What's the biggest key that you've learned over the years that you and your staff have to do to help get Jason Shelley ready to make his first start?
Well, first of all, he will take all the reps with the ones this week, obviously, which will give him a great head start to be ready to play on Saturday. Secondly, you tailor the offense to his skill set. It's not going to be wholesale changes, but there's things that he does that we want to accentuate and make sure we have those in the plan. And then thirdly, and maybe most importantly, is everybody around him's got to elevate their game. Everyone's got to rally around Jason and pick up the slack, and it's got to be a cumulative effort by everybody picking up the slack.
It's only Tuesday, but how's Jason been? How's he been since he knows he's quarterback one now?
Just how I expected him to be. Very cool, very calm demeanor, and he's extremely sharp. He's a highly intelligent kid as well. That's another thing he has going for him. But he's handled it exceptionally well and had a very good practice today.
You talked about having guys elevate their games around him. Is that something you and your staff address, or is that something these guys kind of know we've got to help Jason out?
Both. I certainly reminded him after the game on Saturday. Said, "Hey, here's Jason's our guy, and everyone's got to rally around him and pick up the slack and support him and believe in him." And I don't think I was preaching to the choir, because they all they get it. We got a smart group of guys, and they understand how things work, and they understood exactly what we were talking about.
Drew Lisk is your number 2.
Yep.
Have you decided on your emergency quarterback yet?
Well, yes, but that'll be kept under wraps. So,
well, hopefully you don't have. You can keep it under wraps. Yeah. Hopefully you don't have to get there, right?
Yeah, we hope not to have to unveil that, but we'll be ready with a contingency plan if we get that far.
You've got another smallish quarterback who could probably step in, who's even smaller than 5'11".
Yeah, we got him, and Chase Hansen was an outstanding quarterback in high school, and we've got a couple other ex-QBs in the program, so we'll see.
Yeah, Damari Simpkins is one of those guys, too, no doubt about it. We'll take our first break here on the Coaches Show tonight. We're coming to you live from the Eccles football facility here on campus. We'll come back. This week's opponent are the Oregon Ducks. First-year head coach Mario Cristobal. We'll talk a little bit about the Ducks and what makes them go this year. Just a reminder, tonight's show being brought to you by Bud Light, the official sponsor of Utah Athletics, reminding you to enjoy responsibly. Quick timeout, back with more Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show right here from Learfield. Great punt return by Britton Covey. Could use a little bit more of that coming up on Saturday. And the special teams, we welcome you back into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, presented by Smith's. And this Saturday's game is being presented by our friends at University of Utah Health, the official health care provider of the Utes and you. There's only one you. Be treated that way. Visit them online at uofuhealth.org/Utes. Britton's gotten off the last couple of weeks in some of the punt returns. Things have gotten a lot better. I'll tell you what, that return that he had Saturday, that ball hung in the air for a long time. Your return team did a great job blocking that thing.
They did, and we're getting better at that each week, as you mentioned. And it was a little bit, non-existent the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Now it's starting to pick up, and what we look for is just the raw yardage that we're able to pick up in the punt return game. We're not really concerned with average. It's just accumulating as much yardage as we can. I think right now we're 3rd or 4th in the league in total yards accumulated in the punt return game.
And Britton's number 2 right now in the Pac-12 with about a 10.8 per return average. So that number's come up quite a bit. This week's opponent, the Oregon Ducks, a first-year head coach. He was on staff as the offensive line coach, but Mario Cristobal, a guy that's well-traveled, Miami Hurricane from back in the days, but he's been up there a little bit. Do they look and appear much different under Mario Cristobal than the team you've seen the last few years?
Not a lot. They're very similar. Still running the spread. And, the quarterback's still there, Herbert. Unfortunately, he's a really good player. The right receiver, Mitchell's having a phenomenal year. He's first or second in the league in receptions and yards, and just doing a great job for him. I think he's got close to 60 catches now, and then the Verdell kid is doing a nice job as their tailback, and they're solid up front as always on the offensive line. And it's a typical Oregon team. Ever since we joined the league, you know what you're going to get when you play them as far as the speed and the talent. And this year is certainly no different.
You mentioned Justin Herbert. The last time he was right at Rice Eccles, he might have found Darren Carrington. I'm still not convinced, by the way, Kyle. I know they called it a touchdown,
right.
But if they would have called it incomplete, I don't know that there was ever conclusive evidence. But anyway, I digress. He's a good quarterback. He was only a freshman when he was here last time.
Right.
He's now a junior, being touted as perhaps one of the top quarterback prospects in the country.
Yeah.
What is it that makes him so good when you scout him?
Well, he's got great size. He's a big, tall, strong kid, good arm, very mobile, and just a prototypical NFL guy. I mean, that's what they look for, those big guys that have the live arm. And it's my understanding that he will be if he comes out, obviously he's just a junior, that he would be the first quarterback taken this year.
I'm sure if any NFL scout called, you'd say absolutely.
Absolutely.
Take
Let's go. Take
Justin Herbert today.
For sure.
He would be a terrific addition to any football team. But you mentioned he's got good weapons around him.
He does.
Oregon always does. Dylan Mitchell was a guy that I think coming into the year they had hoped would develop into their kind of go-to guy, and he has.
Yep.
You saw a dandy a week ago in N'Keal Harry. What about Mitchell? What makes him so good?
Well, he's just he's a tremendously talented receiver. He's fast. He's quick. He's got great hands. Runs very good routes, and he's just a tough guy to defend. And you're right, back to back now we've seen 2 tremendous receivers, and N'Keal Harry might be the top receiver in the country as well. As far as in the draft this year, but is he only a junior as well?
N'Keal Harry is also a junior.
Boy,
he was a freshman when you played him a couple of years ago too.
Right. So he better come out as well. But he's just back to Mitchell, just a real savvy football player and explosive.
Back to Harry for a minute and what happened. When you went back and looked at your secondary a week ago, again, they had been playing lights out too, and Harry hit him with some big plays. In years gone by, you have had some speed issues on edges, but I don't think that's an issue for your defense anymore. You're there. Was Saturday a matter of taking bad angles, bad technique?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we took some very poor angles. We blew some assignments, didn't stay home, didn't take care of our responsibility, tried to do too much, leaving your responsibility to go try to help out somewhere else, and then all of a sudden here comes the ball winding back and you're not there. So it was a lot of things wrong defensively on Saturday, and one thing that was not wrong was effort. Our guys always give great effort, and that's something that's a constant with our guys. Is they'll play hard every week, but we just did not play physically enough or assignment sound enough on Saturday.
So it was a long film session is what you're saying, pointing out a lot of mistakes.
Exactly. It was the worst of the year, hands down. And probably the last time we played that poorly on D was the Oregon game last year.
Yeah, and they had some numbers that last year. We could talk about Herbert throwing it and Mitchell, but are they still they want to run the football first before they do anything else?
In my estimation, I think that's the case. And the numbers, I think they're getting about 175, a little better than that per game rushing, which is good. But when you got a quarterback like Herbert, you're going to be, you're certainly going to throw the ball your share of the time. But I would, the way I see it, it's still a run-first operation.
And C.J. Verdell is very good. He's a freshman, 690 yards rushing. Right. He's got 5 touchdowns. Not the biggest guy, though. He's one of those kind of – Morgan's had those guys over the years, a little smaller. I wouldn't call him a scat back, but he's not a real big – he isn't a bowling ball like Benjamin was last week or like your guy Zach Moss is.
Exactly, a little different type of back.
Before we take a break, we've got Terrell Burgess coming up here next. Another one of your many great Southern California finds when it comes to defensive backs. Talk to me a little bit about Terrell. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife for you, isn't he, Kyle?
That's exactly what he is, and not only on defense but special teams. He's involved in pretty much every special team, and he's got great football, a great football IQ. He's a savvy player, picks things up quickly. I mean, he plays 3 positions for us on defense. Literally, he's a guy that can be in any of those 3 spots: free safety, strong safety, or nickel. And like I said, he's a valuable special teams contributor, and he's just done a great job for us all year long.
I'm not going to compare him and say he's like, but I can remember a guy named Weddle who was able to play all those positions for you too. That's not I think people think that's a defensive back. You're covering wide receivers. That should be easy. That's not easy to do, is it?
Not easy at all. The job description from that slot corner spot or the nickel, whatever you want to call it, and the safety is dramatically different. And he's able to process it all because the assignments are dramatically different as well. Not only the technique and the skill set you need, but just the assignments and being able to keep it all sorted out.
Must be something about those guys from that part of Southern California that pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Rancho Cucamonga, I don't think is too far away from where he grew up, right?
No, it's just down the road.
Yeah,
or just up the road.
And that was where Weddle was from. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, keep recruiting that area, Kyle.
Will do. Yeah.
We'll have Terrell Burgess coming up next here on the Coaches Show from Smith's and live from the Eccles football facility right here from Learfield. against Justin Herbert and the Oregon Ducks. Maybe our next guest grabs one of those.
Yeah, that's the
He
plan.
should be in position. Terrell Burgess, junior safety with us here, or is he a junior corner? Well, he's everything. We'll just say junior defensive back because you never know where he might be lining up. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. We had a good practice today, so
Good
I'm
practice.
happy.
Have you kind of gotten that bitter taste of Saturday out of your mouth and focused on Oregon now?
Definitely. Got to do next game forward.
Yeah, you can't live in the past, can you?
Yes, sir.
All right, so how's the season going for you so far?
Pretty well. I mean, started out 2 at safety, and then had to move around, go play corner in one game, go play nickel in another game. So I'm just playing my role, just trying to help the team win any way I can.
Well, it's one of those things like in life, and you'll learn this as you move along in life, Terrell. The more you can do, the more employable and the more hireable you are, the more positions you can play, the more you're going to get on the field for Utah, right? And I'm sure whether it's safety or corner or nickel or whatever it might be, you're just happy to be out there on the field.
Oh, definitely. Just trying to do anything I can to, find a way to add value to the team.
So what's the most difficult part about that? I mean, like I was telling Coach, I think a lot of people hear it and they say, you're covering wide receivers. What could be difficult about playing nickel versus playing outside, or free safety versus playing nickel? But what goes into that, and how much do you have to know?
Actually, a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot. I definitely say nickel's probably. I'd probably say strong safety is the most fun, and nickel's probably the hardest because the slots that you cover are very dynamic. They can be quick, they can be fast. But in the box, when you're playing strong safety, you got to hit linemen every play, and then it's all fun. But I'd definitely say covering the slots is probably the most hard.
So what do you like best? If Coach Witt or Coach Scally are coming to you and say, Terrell, you've got your choice of where you want to play today, and you're going to be starting it on the field. Do you want to play safety? Do you want to play slot? Do you want to play outside? Where would you prefer?
I like the box. I'd
Do
say
you?
strong safety.
You like being down in the box?
Yeah, I
Okay.
definitely like the box.
So you're being coached by Morgan Scally sometimes.
Yes, sir.
And then you're being coached by Sharif Shaw sometimes. Two guys who were pretty good at what they did back in the day when they played here. They were both all-conference guys. Morgan was an All-American guy. How are those guys to be with? Because your coordinator, your position coaches, they're guys that played the same position for the same school you're playing for.
Yes, sir. I love both of them. I enjoy learning from both of them. I definitely think that they're part of the reason that I became somewhat of a smart football player, I like to say. But yeah, I like working with both of them. They're both loud and energetic at practice, so that definitely helps.
Yeah, they are loud. They're probably the two best screamers at practice, right?
Oh, definitely.
But they'll both love you up a little bit too.
Yeah, it's like they make sure they let you know what you're doing wrong, but they also bring you back up once you do something right.
So you're a Southern California kid, and there's a lot of SoCal guys on this team. How do you get to Utah? How does the recruitment begin? Who's the guy that kind of saw you and really recruited you, and how'd you decide on Utah?
That's actually a good question. I don't remember the first person I talked to, but I do remember Coach John Pease came to the school, I think, the first time.
Gotta love Coach Pease.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I think he was probably the main recruiter at first, and then once he decided to retire, I think it was Coach Shaw and Coach Scally came down to talk to me.
So did you know much? I mean, Utah was in the Pac-12, so it wasn't like they were still in the Mountain West or anything, but did you know much about Utah?
No, I didn't actually know much about Utah besides the fact that they beat Alabama in 2009. That was probably the big thing that I knew about them.
So you probably didn't know about the history of a lot of great defensive backs and safeties that had gone on to play at the next level then, did you?
Definitely not. I did not.
So at what point did you kind of get a feel for, okay, maybe this is a good system. This might fit me and what I want to do?
First time I came out here and I saw the mountains, I loved the scenery, and I knew that this is probably what I wanted to do.
And you probably had to love the system, too, because it's
definitely
great for a guy like you.
Yeah, all the DB positions. And I started to look up, like, how many DBs they had put into the league in the last 10 years, and I was like, oh, that's definitely a school that would help me, pursue what I want to do.
Mentors. Did you have anybody that kind of took you under their wing when you got here as a freshman?
When I first got here, we all have big brothers on the team when you first get here. My big brother was Marcus Williams, so that was a good guy to be under. Definitely, he's a starting safety for the Saints now, so that was a good guy to be under. I kind of just listened to everybody. I picked everybody's brains as much as I could just to make sure I became the best DB I could be.
It's funny you say that because I was hoping you'd say that because I see a lot of Marcus Williams in your mannerisms, in your approach. Obviously, he was a terrific safety, but a super smart guy, too, and
yes, sir.
Very articulate. You and Marcus have a little bit of the gift of the gab, too, I can tell.
Yeah, I try my best to be as articulate as possible.
You still talk to him a little bit?
A little bit. I try and he's got a season, I got a season, so I try and, make sure that he's got his head on straight so I don't bother him during the season, but after season I'll definitely make sure to get
So what do you like most about playing in this defense?
It's just fun. I don't know how to explain it. It's really fun to play in the defense. We all have a lot of fun. Like no matter who's on the field, everybody eats. That's one thing we say. So we all have fun. That's a tough question.
I've asked Javelin, I've asked Jalen, I've asked Julian, I've asked Marquise and Corian. You guys have a little, there's like a little internal, let's see who can make the bigger play this week contest in the group, don't you?
Yeah, there's definitely a competition every week. Like whoever gets a pick, we definitely come to the sideline. We're always talking about, oh, that was easy. Like it was too easy. But yeah, we have a lot of fun over there.
So what do you do when it goes the other way? When it's not the pick, it's N'Keal Harry going the distance. You're probably not as critical, but do you guys huddle as a group and talk about that stuff?
Oh, definitely. We're still critical, I'd say, but like we make sure that it's all like no more games at that point. It's all serious.
So what happened last week?
I think last week I don't know what it was. We just weren't ourselves. We weren't playing our best football. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because
it's weird.
It didn't look at all like the team that had been flying. Your defense had been flying around elite all, and it just looked a little off from the very start. So what's the challenge this week then? How do you get that mojo back a little bit, and you're going to be doing it against maybe even a better quarterback this week in Herbert?
I think we just got to make sure we get back to the basics, play assignment sound football, and just make plays on the ball.
Do you get up for these games a little bit when you hear, okay, there's Justin Herbert, Mel Kiper, and has him on top of his big board? And plus, Herbert's got a little history against you guys.
Oh, yeah,
back
definitely.
here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when he had that touchdown to DC, that was a tough one to lose. But I try not to look at like what the rankings are about other people. I kind of just try and make sure I know my assignment and alignment for the game and just play great football. He's a great quarterback. I've been watching him, so I hope he's there to play his best game as we will be.
Last thing for you, Coach mentioned this a minute ago, and I was going to ask you anyway, but has there been a sense among the guys with Tyler going down, hey, it's time to rally, let's step our game up and rally behind Jason a little bit?
Oh, yes, definitely. We definitely it's definitely a tough thing to have our starting quarterback go down, but that's what football's for. That's why we play this game. There's going to be injuries. We try and just make sure we're picking up Jason. We believe in him. We believe that he can do it.
What are the people listening right now need? He's your teammate.
Yes,
you
sir.
know him, and you play against him in practice all the time. What do Utah fans who've only seen him in bits and pieces need to know about Jason Shelley?
He's electric. That man can make plays with the ball in his hand, whether he's throwing it or whether he's running with his feet. He can make plays.
Okay, Julian, Javelin, Jalen, they've all made some picks. Are we going to get the safeties? Corian's got one.
Corian's got one, yeah.
Marquise doesn't have one yet. You don't have one yet. It's time for the safeties to step the game up a little bit, isn't it?
We need to get one. We need to get a couple this week.
This would be a good week to have it.
Yes,
Thanks
definitely.
for coming by, Terrell.
No problem.
Terrell
Thank you.
Burgess with us here on the Coaches Show tonight. We'll come back, pass out some awards. Oh, we'll do that in a minute. But first we're going to talk. Where is he? Where's Reggie? Oh, there he is. Reggie Dunn's going to come up. What should folks know about Reggie Dunn?
Reggie, he's a funny guy. Reggie's a funny guy. He always loves to talk about his glory days, and I love that.
Did you ever YouTube him? Did you ever see some of his kick returns?
Yeah, I did.
He was electric.
Yeah, he was fast. He was a fast.
Does he ever want to race you guys?
He tries, but he knows he's too old for that now.
Did you ever do a real talk with Reggie?
No, I actually haven't.
He's going to bring that back.
Yeah,
we're going to do a real talk right here with him.
Okay.
Real talk with Riley and Reggie. Coming up next on the Coaches Show from Smith's and right here from Learfield. Another great run by Zach Moss. Another great day by Zach Moss, by the way. Zach climbing the all-time rushing chart at the University of Utah. He was just in here a few minutes ago saying hi, having a bite to eat, as we welcome you back into the Coaches Show tonight. This show being brought to you by our friends at Nissan. The Drive of the Game brought to you by Nissan. Nissan knows game day is all about a game-winning drive, so the Rogue has available technologies that will help make any day's drive the best getting to the stadium. Nissan, a proud supporter of college athletics and Utah athletics. My guy, Reggie Dunn.
What's going on, Bill?
Swinging by. No longer a player. No, Reggie didn't get an extra year of eligibility. Reggie's on the recruiting side of things, one of the recruiting coordinators here at the University of Utah. How are things?
Everything is good. Coming off a loss, but things could be better, but everything is good. Life is good.
So let's catch people up. Maybe there's people out there listening that had no idea what Reggie Dunn was up to since you left the University of Utah. You played a few years of NFL football, played a little arena football too.
Yeah, I bounced around a little bit. I started off in Pittsburgh my rookie year, Green Bay, Cleveland, Miami, Arizona. Yeah, I bounced around a lot. New England. Then going into my second year, I spent the whole year with Dallas Cowboys. And, yeah, I went to Canada for a little bit, was with the Ottawa Red Blacks, and then spent a very, very small stint with the Los Angeles Kiss. But, yeah, that's my football career.
So how do you get back here to the University of Utah and get in on the staff on the recruiting side of things?
Well, you know Dakari Tucker, right?
Yep.
Dakari Tucker was looking for a roommate, and I thought about coming back to Utah, and me and him decided to become roommates. And I reached out to Coach Witt and the rest of the staff here, and I told him, like, I wasn't looking to coach. Like, I just want to come back and help out in recruiting. I like that side of the game, and here I am now.
Dakari Tucker, the only guy that went to Sarah High School that wasn't a wide receiver or a defensive back, right?
Yeah. Yep. And he's 10th all-time in three-pointers made here, too.
Yeah, and he's playing – where was he, at Mexico? Where was he this past year?
He was overseas, but now he just signed with the Houston Rockets G League team, so he's on the roster there now. So congrats to Dakari.
Love my guy to target Dakari Tucker. Miss Tuck, and hopefully he'll be back at some point in time this year. So give us an idea. You're one of the recruiting coordinators here. What exactly does that mean, and what's your day-to-day look like?
Well, I basically help out the coaches with their recruiting. We do all pretty much the dirty work. They got a lot of stuff. They got a game plan throughout the week, so we're just, looking at guys, keeping up with them, making sure we find new guys, a lot of different stuff like that.
Help them when they come in on recruiting
visits.
I know that when they're here, I know you're one of the guys that's kind of showing them around.
Yeah,
right?
Well, during the week, I'm doing like all the dirty work and stuff, but my favorite part is when the guys come up for trips and I get to show them around, get to show them this beautiful place, Salt Lake City, and we get to go watch the game, and the environment is crazy, and they get to love it. So.
Well, you must love it, and that's a good sales pitch because you not only came here to play football, but you left and then you came back again. So that's an easy way to pitch to these guys. I think you're going to like it here.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only – besides the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell got it rolling down there downtown. But before he got here, I felt like we was the biggest show in town, and I still feel like that way now. And the fans love you. They come out to support you, and you feel the love, and that's why I came back because, it's a lot of love out here.
Well, and there's a lot of your teammates and guys that were former Utes that are from other places that end up staying here, that were Southern California guys, that were Northern California guys, that were Nevada guys that say, hey, it's a great place to live, and I want to be here.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so in addition to helping coordinate on the recruiting side, you're also a bit of a video star. Real Talk with Reggie, a video series that came about last year where you're interviewing staff members, players. Yeah. They're pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a good job. I told you that.
I appreciate that.
You do a good job with those. Those are funny. Where did the idea come from?
So we have, just like every other group that we have in this facility, our recruiting staff, we have our meetings that we have to, we got to get stuff done too. So one day we were just sitting there trying to think of a good way where we could introduce the new players that are on the team, and we came up with an interview process, and one thing led to another, and we was like, well, I'll interview the guys, and then we came up with a name. They came up with some background music, threw a couple pictures on, gave me a mic, and the rest is history.
Taco or grilled cheese?
I'm taking the grilled cheese.
You are?
I'm taking the grilled cheese.
See, I'm a taco guy myself, but I think in a battle, the grilled cheese might win.
Yeah, I mean, that was a question.
Especially if it's a hard shell taco. Because if it's a soft shell taco, he might have a chance because he's flexible, but that hard shell taco's got no chance.
Well, Bill, I'm from Compton. In Compton, we make grilled cheeses, so you got to be tough. So that's why I take the grilled cheese. The grilled cheese is a tough sandwich, just cheese and bread. And
when I was a kid, my mom made grilled cheese with Velveeta. Oh.
Was
Did
it
you
good?
get yeah, no, it was terrible.
No, just regular yellow cheese.
Just like the American,
Yep.
like the craft slice. See,
Yep.
now that I've got a real job, I'm making some money.
Yeah.
I get the cheddar out. I might do a little Monterey Jack in
Yeah.
there. I might do a couple of different kinds of cheeses.
Yeah.
And the good bread.
You got to bring some to the next coaches show
Yeah.
so we can eat it.
Well, we'll see if the guys can fire up some grilled cheeses
Yep,
for us.
we get that.
All right, so I got to ask you, if you played today in college today, it'd be tough on you, wouldn't it? He wouldn't probably let you bring the ball out of the end zone. I mean, he's the fair catch guy. A lot of coaches in college football are the fair catch guy. We might not have some of those spectacular Reggie Dunn touchdowns now because you'd have to put your arms out and signal the fair catch. You played at a good time.
Yeah, I did play at a good time, but it kind of affected me in my NFL chances because that's when they changed the rule, and a lot of those kicks went in the back of the end zone. But I don't want none of our guys to do this, but I think I would probably have to try it one time and return it, and I think we might be good.
Well, see, I think you're dynamic enough. He might give you a little bit more leeway. Like if the ball's at the 3 or the 4, maybe you can do it.
Maybe.
Goal line, in the end zone, probably take that fair catch, right?
I mean,
you understand the numbers.
I was taking them out 5 yards deep.
I know you were.
So you never know. But we got a good scheme here now. I love it. We put our offense in a great position to go out there and go on a good drive and score a touchdown.
Who was your off guy? You were the receiver. Who was your guy? Who was your up guy?
Charles Henderson.
Yeah.
Love that dude to death.
Charles was good.
Just as I was fearless going through there, he was just as fearless going to make those blocks for me. So,
before I let you go, what do you want to do? I mean, this is a stop for you. What would you ultimately like to do? Administration? Would you like to be back on the field coaching? I mean, this is a good place for now, but you want to move up the ladder at some point. What do you want to do?
I mean, yeah, this is a good place for now. I love what I'm doing now. If I could stay in the recruiting department and probably move up in that way somehow, that would be great. But, you know, I'm just living it one day at a time right now, and I love what I do right now, and it's great.
You can't live down the road, Reg. It's 1 week at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Coach drilled that in your head back when you were a player.
Mm-hmm.
You like our chances against Oregon this week?
I love our chances. I love our boys. Shelley's going to do great. Zach's going to do great. Our defense is going to play lights out. The crowd is going to bring it this week. Must bring it. Crowd, bring it this week.
And maybe Covey will get a return.
He will for sure get a return. Let's go.
Thanks, Reg.
Yep, no problem.
Reggie Dunn with us here on the Coaches Show. We'll come back with team awards, some questions for Coach. We'll talk about the Ducks as well. All right here on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show. Presented by Smith's and right here from Learfield. We'll need a few more of those this week, maybe a little more Texas to Texas. Jalen Dixon and Jason Shelley hooking up. We welcome you back into the Coaches Show presented by, we'd love to have a few touchdowns from those guys this week. A Code Red touchdown presented by Pepsi. Grab some friends, get in the game. Pepsi's a proud partner of Utah Athletics. We'll talk a little more about Jason Shelley here in a minute. Let's get to our weekly awards, Kyle. Pass out our Subway Sub of the Week and our Team Player of the Week. Our Team Player of the Week is brought to us by our friends at U of U Health. Who are you going to go with?
Well, tough decision. There wasn't, a ton of worthy performances, but Nakua Sampson played excellent and caught the ball well, but he blocked incredibly well downfield. Something that you don't really get a feel for unless you're really focusing on him away from the ball, and that's something that he was outstanding in, and really takes a great deal of pride in his blocking. And he also, I think he caught 4 balls.
Yeah, 4 for 68 in the touchdown.
Led our team in receptions, but it was the blocking that was so impressive. And so we'll go with Samson Nakua with the MVP.
MVP Player of the Week presented by University of Utah Healthcare and Sports Medicine. He's your second leading receiver, by the way.
He is.
On the year. He's developed into a really, really nice target for you. Subway Sub of the Week?
Subway Sub of the Week. We got to go with Terrell again.
Okay.
I think we had him once before earlier in the year, and with Marquise out for that first half with the penalty that carried over from the previous game, he filled in and did a great job.
You were down really at one point in time to, I think Corian Ballard was like the only regular safety back there when Afia got ejected and Marquise was still out, and it was the weirdest thing. I mean, you were down to basically one safety.
We were, and it was getting really thin, and if someone else would have gone down, we would have probably had to improvise and put a cornerback there. We have Julian Blackman, who has played a little bit of safety in the past. That probably would have been our answer.
So he'll be our Subway Sub of the Week. Subway, the official training restaurant of Utah football, and you can look for that golden ticket on Saturday at the game to try and win that bowl trip to see the Utes in a bowl this year. We don't know what bowl yet, but you can win one through Subway. Questions from the crowd. This one comes in today from Nash Utes 11. Says, any word on Brian Thompson yet and when he might be back?
He is going to be back sooner rather than later. We hope this week, but we'll see. He's practicing, and we would love to be able to utilize him, but we got to see what how the week progresses, how he handles the workload, and we'll go from there.
Text question, since he can't call in apparently, from Keith.
Oh, Keith.
Hey, Coach, who loves you? So what's the championship
Keith.
chance look like right now?
Well, the championship chance is all focused on Oregon right now. We don't even look past that. So we're not trying to figure out what happens or if this, if that. We just know that we got to take care of our business and not worry about anything beyond that.
Well, the honest to goodness truth, though, Keith, is if they don't beat Oregon, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
So you've got to beat Oregon, and then you can worry about Colorado next week. This text in, 5521, says, is Jason Shelley tall enough to see his receivers down the field over his offensive linemen?
Sure is, and like we've said, there's been plenty of quarterbacks of his stature that have done just fine, and he did just fine in high school. Now, granted, college players are taller than high school players, but since he's been on campus here and running the offense, going against our defense, that has not been an issue.
We'll take our final timeout here on the Coaches Show. We'll come back, get a couple of final thoughts on the Oregon Ducks, and a thought or two on Jason Shelley as well as we head down the home stretch. Don't forget Saturday. It's a 3:30 kickoff from Rice-Eccles Stadium, 1:30 for the pregame show with myself and the broadcast crew right here from Learfield. Mario Cristobal right there, head football coach of the Oregon Ducks, saying nice things about Cody Barton and Chase Hansen leading into our final segment here, Kyle. We talked about that Duck offense. Defensively, pretty solid against the run, maybe not quite so solid against the pass. What stands out about that Oregon defense?
Well, they got some personnel. The Jelks kid is a big, long defender,
Jelks,
6'7", something like that. They got a lot of length on the defense. Although the nose guard is shorter in stature, but he is thick. He's a load and tough to move around. And so, they're active in the back end. Length up front, like I said, in the front seven. So typically, exactly what we've seen the last several years as far as the type of personnel.
This might be one of those weeks where you need to saddle up your tailback and run him pretty good. He moved to 4th on the all-time rushing list, moved past Fuamatu Ma'afala. He's trailing Devontae Booker now by about $145 or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. But this would seem like one of those weeks where you could get a big workload out of Zach Moss. He hasn't had really a big one yet this year. I think 30 was his biggest.
Yeah, 30. That's pretty good work, though. 30 carries for a game, but he's a bull, and you're right. This, every week is to me a Zach Moss week, but he's been just so important to our offense the last 2 years, and over 1,000 yards already with 3 regular season games to go. So he's been very productive, and like you said, he's moving right up that chart of all-time leading rushers at Utah.
2,647 yards for Zach Moss so far this year. 3rd right now in the Pac-12 with just over 1,000 yards. Zach Moss can make life easier on Jason Shelley and ease his burden a little bit. What else can you guys do as a group on Saturday to kind of ease Jason into his first start as a collegiate quarterback?
Well, first of all, like we talked about, everybody playing their best and playing better than we have all year long. That's the objective, is everybody to find a way to improve their level of play, and collectively we'll be much better if individually we can do that. And Jason, he's got to just do his thing, not press, just be exactly who he is, not try to make plays when they're not there to be made, not force anything. Just let the game come to him, which he's very good at.
And being at home can help that a little bit too,
the home crowd is awesome. And Rice Eccles has been phenomenal all year long. It's been phenomenal for 55-plus games or whatever it is. And so can't say enough good things about our fans, and hopefully they're out in full force on Saturday.
Have a good rest of the week of practice.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate that.
There we go. We'll see you on Saturday, Kyle. We'll see you guys on Saturday, too. Pre-game at 1:30 with a 3:30 kickoff against the Oregon Ducks. We'll have all the action for you right here. Thanks to everybody involved today, including Terrell Burgess and Reggie Dunn. For Coach, I'm Bill Riley. So long and good night. This is Utah Football from Learfield.